Yesterday, I installed this new Vego arch trellis on my two 17-inch raised metal beds. Each of these metal beds are configured to the 2-foot by 8-foot configuration. For me, the purpose of this arch is to increase my growing space. I have a limited amount of space in which to grow, and by growing vertically, I am able to increase my growing space. I'm Amanda, the ever hopeful gardener, and let's take a closer look. I chose the triple panel arch for my bed, and I did learn that it was very difficult to install this arch if your beds already have things growing in them and are already filled with soil. I had to dig down through the bed to be able to remove a bolt here and insert a new bolt through this device. And in some areas, this was more difficult than others. I have garlic growing here, and I was having to be very careful to dig down without disturbing the garlic, and I found it extremely cumbersome. So my recommendation is, if you are planning on installing one of these arches, either do it when you have nothing growing in your beds and it's okay to dig down in the soil, or plan ahead and do it before you've filled your beds. Another important thing to take note of is that with this arch system from Vego, your beds have to be exactly 4.5 feet apart. And because my garden is already established, this was the only location where that measurement worked. Something else to note, this is not a Vego bed. This is a Vego bed. The instructions indicate that you are supposed to put one of these pole holders in the first hole and one in the 5th. But because this is a different bed company, you can see here that it does not have a 2nd and a 5th bolt hole. So I decided to just rig it a little bit different. I put it in the 1st and the 4th. So you can work this trellis even if you don't have Vego beds. You just might have to alter the installation a little bit. Cannot attest to the durability of this trellis yet, since I just installed it yesterday, but it does seem very sturdy. I also cannot attest to growing anything on it because I haven't had a chance to plant anything. One concern I have is just how far apart all the bars are spaced and how thick they are. Many vining plants are not going to be able to wrap around something this thick. So what I'm going to do over here, where I'm planting pea seeds today, I have added some jute twine to help the peas climb up the trellis. So depending on what you're growing, you may need to add some wire or some garden twine to help your plants climb up this trellis. This trellis did take me quite a bit of time to install. Admittedly, if you're installing it with beds that are not filled with soil, that part will go much quicker than it did for me. However, putting all of the bars on, that did take quite a while. It is a little bit labor intensive. I did need to get a ladder out to be able to do the top part also. One person can put this together by themselves, no problem. Every bar is attached using rubber washers and metal bolts, and you stagger the middle piece with the side pieces. And anywhere that you are not having a pole go, it does come with these covers, so you're not seeing just an empty hole on your arch. I plan to grow tomatoes, which I can just use twine to tie up onto the sides of the arch. I also plan to grow peas, and I'm thinking about doing some vining flowers on it, like purple hyacinth vine, maybe some moonflower. I'll be sharing updates on how this trellis does as we progress through the growing season. Check out the caption below where I have linked this exact trellis model, but they have several different configurations depending on your garden setup, and I've included a discount code for $10 off your purchase. Hey garden friends, today I'm going to talk about this Vego garden bed cover. I'm going to talk all about what I initially thought it was for, how wrong I was, what I've been using it for, what I think it's great for, any drawbacks I've found, how easy it was to install, and how the plants are doing inside. I'm Amanda, the ever hopeful gardener. Thanks for joining me today. Let's get into it. When I initially got this Vego garden bed cover, I thought it was for winter frost protection. I was wrong. However, I will have to say, once I got it set up and realized my mistake, it still worked fantastic for being able to have something to drape frost cloth or old bed sheets over to keep the plants protected from a winter freeze. I like to have whatever I'm using to protect the plants not touching the actual plants, so the frame of this garden bed cover worked really well. The actual purpose of this garden bed cover is to keep pests out. It still lets sunlight in, it lets rain in, but it will keep pests out. It'll keep deer or rabbits from eating what's in your bed. And I also think, though it's too early in the season to know if it works for flying insects that can damage crops, I do think its intended purpose is for that also. This cover has zippers, which allow you easy access to what's growing inside the bed. These zippered panels have pieces of Velcro, and the top also has pieces of Velcro, which allows you to secure the panel while you're working in the bed. And if you want to do the other side, you can attach the Velcro to this side of this panel. So the panels can attach to each other, making it super easy to work in the bed. I had this panel open recently, but it does have these Velcro ties to secure it on the poles, and it has string ties down at the bottom. On the inside, as you can see, there are Velcro ties securing the cover to the frame. I don't have all of mine done at the moment. I really like the versatility of being able to flip the panels up, have full access to the bed, be able to see the plants and enjoy them, but also very easily cover them back up. This year, I'm going to be growing edamame in this bed. In the past, edamame has been very difficult for me because something, I'm guessing deer or rabbits, eat it the moment it germinates. And I feel confident that this cover is going to keep that from happening this year. The frame and cover were easy to install. All you have to do are remove these nuts for the top bolts in the bed. And the kit comes with the larger screws so that you then just attach the pole with the larger screw, screw on a nut, and that is it. The other connectors are very easy. You just insert the poles into them, no problem. While this cover still lets light in, as you can see, the plants are growing great. I do think that the kale and my winter veggies that were in here benefited from not getting such strong sun. And these are the only kale plants in my garden that have yet to bolt. So I think that's an added bonus that I didn't even think about when I originally installed this. I'd also like to point out that if you have the Vego Bed solar magnetic lights, they do still work outside of the netting. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I do my best to answer all of the comments that I receive. And in the description, you will also find a link for this exact cover system and a discount code. Every year I move my citrus trees from outside in the driveway in the sun inside to my garage when it gets cold. And unfortunately, as they've grown, they've gotten much heavier, and it's really difficult to get them in and out of the garage once in the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. But I also like to take them out on what I call field trips so that they can have some sun on warm days. The problem is getting them in and out of the garage. I've tried rigging a furniture dolly to drag them in and out. And I've also carried them in and out. This is a lot of work, and I've decided there's got to be an easier way. Today, I'm going to put together some of these Vego self-watering rolling planters and see if that works much better than the current way I'm taking them in and out of the garage. The most time-consuming part of putting them together was removing the protective film, but the pieces went together very easy. The first one took a little while. I had to read the instructions several times. It probably took 35 minutes, but the other ones, they went together much easier once I knew what I was doing, and probably only took 20 to 25 minutes. I did not realize that 2 of the wheels on every planter have these locking mechanisms so that you can make it that the planter won't move. I actually really liked that function and didn't even know I wanted it. All of my citrus trees have probably been in their containers for 4 or 5 years. They are definitely a bit root bound. I'm going to tease out the bottom of the roots and give them some more space to grow with these planters. I'm going to fill all the planters with a good quality planting mix. I'm using Veggie Mix, and it's peat free, and I just really like it. It's from Soil Cube, but just use any good quality potting soil that you want. I am really pleased with how easy these planters are to roll. I'll spare you from having to watch the rinse and repeat of getting all the rest of these planted. I had a hard time getting some of them out of their pots, and they were so root bound, I actually had to use a hori-hori knife to cut some of the bottom roots and untangle them. Here's what my citrus tree situation looked like before, and here's the after. So much better. And now it's so much easier to take them in and out of the garage on warm, sunny days, and also to put them away for winter and bring them back out for good in the spring. I am really loving these.